Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Quartet. Once again with our team, Michael Shane, Julie Adriani, and our special guest, Jefferson de Souza. Hello, welcome.
Hi,
Jefferson,
how are you
nice
doing?
to see you.
Hello from Brazil.
Jefferson is an author and he has personal experiences with extraterrestrials. Jefferson, can you tell us something about your books, please?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure not only in the spectrum of alien research, might also in the metaphysics and paranormal, but I tend to be a little more scientific. I understand the spiritual part is a must because without the spiritual part is no real metaphysical research because it has to be a common sense in all this. So my latest book is about the Ouija board. So over there, after I would say a few years of research, we realize about we're not talking exactly with the spirits of the departed, but to be in contacting some sort of transdimensional intelligence, which somehow feeds on emotion, mostly um, fear, I would say. But I also incline to believe of the spirits of the departed can be reached by what they call the necroverse, which is part of the omniverse, which is an outer reality which lies beyond the multiverse which we are part of with our universe.
And here we dig a
So,
little bit later, a little bit deeper inside. Let me come now to the wonderful Julie Adriani. Julie, you are with us again. Wonderful, good afternoon. How are you?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here. I'm doing good.
Perfect. Okay, you will tell us later on what was happening to you during the last 6 weeks. We couldn't see each other and we couldn't talk about the paranormal with each other. There's many, many things what were going on, I guess, in your paranormal life. And as well, we have the good and nice and interesting Michael Chain. Michael, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's really wonderful to be here again. I really enjoy it and meeting you, and I now get to meet Jefferson, and I'm excited to hear what's going on with him. And It's always good to see Julie. She's always smiling.
Yes, and me too. But Michael, you just came back from Switzerland. Would you like to tell our audience a little bit what was going on in Switzerland? What did you do there?
Well, my recent trip to Switzerland, we were there honoring a dear friend who passed away this year from unknown causes. He ran the PSI Parapsychology Institute in Basel, Switzerland, and he'd been doing it for over 30 years. And we were there, and we did some events. I did a red light seance, which people saw my body reconfigure into someone else, and the voice changed, and my bodily movements and stuff were different according to a person that watches everybody like a hawk. And it was some good information that came through. There we did a healing seance, and people's lives, 4 in particular, changed.
But let me cut in here 1 minute. This information, what you got, was it related to this person who passed away, to your friend, or was it, there's no connection?
Both. In fact, Lucius is his name, brought through a sacred object with the help of Saint Germain called apportation to give to his wife who was there that day. And it was a bunch of ancient Swiss francs dating all the way back to the 1930s.
You said there was a transformation in context of your body, how you spoke, how you moved. Are you in this kind of situations? Are you aware that something is changing inside you, outside you, or you are absolutely blacked out to this time?
I'm in complete trance, so I'm not aware of what's going on.
So there's someone who's taking over.
Correct.
And what is happening after it? How is the feeling to get back in your body? Do you have the feeling that you are outside your body?
When I go into trance, I travel through the silver cord, and I go to what I call my happy place. And it doesn't really feel like you're out of your body, but it doesn't feel like you're in your body either. It's not very easy to describe. It's almost like you just are. That's really the best way for me to describe.
Where is this place? Is it in the astral realm, or would you call it in a different way?
I call it the underverse, the void.
Okay, so some people said as well, Saint Germain said, from the astral realm comes nothing good. Do you have experiences that sometimes something can dig in our reality, what is not good, especially in the seances? I could imagine that when the negative ones on the other side, they exist wherever we are, we know that when they know or feel there's positive energy, do they try to manipulate something in a way what is maybe not the way how you want it? Or is it all every time perfect?
Yeah, honestly, yes. There are certain entities that we call dark entities or negative entities, and I am not speaking of demons and things like that, because I've never actually seen a demon. I don't believe demons exist. I believe that there's demonic energies, but as far as the consciousness is concerned, I can't honestly say that exists. But this is why you have in place protocols. And without going through all the protocols right now on the show, one of which is to do prayers of protection, and the other is to make sure that you have a spirit team that prevents these kind of things from occurring. And you do that in the affirmations.
This spirit team, has every person what is so-called a spirit team, or only people who are trying to get in touch with the other side?
Mediums, like mental mediums, physical mediums, handwriting mediums, trance mediums, channeling mediums, they all have a spirit team of sorts. Some of them are very involved, like with physical mediumship, because that's an actual mediumship that the individual could actually lose their life. And so there's more in depth and more entities per se involved to make sure that the physical medium is protected. A mental medium, their team is not as vast as or as large, but they have what you call a guide, a mediumship guide, which will follow the protocol of protecting the medium from influence of outside forces, or even in some cases preventing the medium's own consciousness to influence or interfere with the message.
Here I would like to cut in and ask you a question. If you have contact with the spirit world and you finish your contact, did you ever have the experience that you had an attachment, or was it every time, well, you were so good protected that there was never an attachment you had to fight with, that you get rid of it?
Quite frankly, yes.
Yes, so you did.
Yeah, I had a period of time for 20 years, from the age of 7 to 27 years old, that I call my dark ages. And during that period of time, I developed a number of attachments of earthbound spirits and other spirits. Now, those were removed through a process called regression therapy. But when I started opening up again to my mediumship at the age of 29, I didn't know of protocols. I didn't understand the process. And so, yes, I would develop a connection to a spirit that didn't belong, but it's easy to remove them because they're violating your free will. You didn't give them permission to enter. So once you're aware of their existence, it's simple to remove them. But it's knowing that they're there before you can move them. And that is why once the spirit team is actually connected and you're listening to them, because I was kind of a stubborn student in a lot of ways. And so they, by my request, either Rescue Angels or Master Babaji would remove them and put them either in a sleep state and take them back to whence they came, or help educate them and help them into the light.
Question: is it possible to get rid of them, that no new spirit people can attach to you? Is it possible to get really rid of them forever?
Yes, and that has to depend on your enlightened state and your spiritual awareness and the
Here we
level
speak
of,
about your own vibration, right?
yes.
Oh, okay. Let me go now to ask the same question to Julie. Julie, in your case, do you have the experience of only positive attachments, because it gives as well positive attachments, or did you have only the experience of negative attachments? You have your guides, they are coming and going. Is there in the spirit world, spirits, they stay the whole time, they live in your house?
I have had so much paranormal activity in my homes that I've lived in. I don't feel like I've ever had a negative attachment, although I did go through a period of about a year and a half in maybe 2014 that I had so much spirit around me that literally they were draining my battery, my car. Every day I had a new car, I had a Lincoln Navigator and I kept taking it back in. The batteries was dead. So finally my husband said, well, how about we're going to plug it in every night, because literally if I didn't charge the battery every night, by the time I drove it to work and on my way home, it wouldn't start up again. It was just draining the battery, terrible. And when I finally got a different car and my son took the car, he never had a problem. He never had a battery. But I didn't feel they were negative, but I felt a lot of spirit around me because that was a big awakening period for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a lot of spirits, but I don't feel that they were negative. I feel at that time it was protection because I was just opening up a lot to the spirit world.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask Jefferson. Jefferson, in the paranormal area, we know about this situation that spirit people, they drain batteries from camcorders, the batteries, or from a K2 or something like that. How we have to understand that? Can you dig a little bit into it, that our audience understand more what is going on with this kind of energy, why it is taken from the spirit world, and what is the purpose?
Okay. First, we have to understand what is the spirit world. This designation we, propose to try to understand non-dimensional, non-temporal area which exists outside our reality. Reality only be our dimension. It's better saying, not reality, but dimension, because all these energies, we only can know the ones we recognize. The ones we recognize are the ones between the electromagnetic spectrum. So anything from gamma rays to X-rays to everything else, we can recognize them. What happened to Julie, for example, the draining of the batteries. These are energetical beings connected to her. So it's her car. So what happens? All this electromagnetic energy, which in the batteries automatically are being siphoned to them, adding energy to them. Because to do the crossing is not simple, because a crossing between different universes requires a change of harmonics, and that is a very complicated subject, which we make, simple. Everything I know about astral projection basically comes from the project Stargate, which is a project from the U.S. Air Force, have for many years, which Ingo Swann was the person in charge in that moment. So we learn a lot about the so-called other side. He said it's just a way to, we can nominate the way we want. It's just a question to understand. We're talking about a place which let's put it this way, the laws of physics don't work there as they work here. It's because they can do a lot of different effects. For example, Michael was explaining about this money, ancient money from 1930s, which appeared for a process called apport. Apportation is when you're capable of cross between universes, because time-space continuum operates in streams. So by some reason, that blocked energy lock up on these specific objects which are connected to Michael's, point, and this is the way he could do it. Because Michael, with no doubt about it, as Julie, they are beacons of pure psychic energy. There's no way to even try to imagine or try to quantify them. Because what's interesting about Julie and Michael is they superate themselves. Every time you think they reach their limit, you're going to find out there's a plus on that. So there's no way to quantify, the levels of energy of what Julie or Michael would have, because you cannot measure. Because your measurement is going to be a failure, because you're going to measure a moment. Never going to measure the adding part they are capable of. Especially in the case of Michael,
let me cut in here.
To this other energies which are connected to him. Yes.
Let me cut in here a moment. This kind of energy, what they took from the battery, was it, for what was it? What they need, why they need it, and what is the purpose? Was it only to disturb, to make trouble, or do they need a specific amount of energy to communicate or to materialize themselves? Or what is the reason that spirit world is taking energy from batteries? What is the reason? Why they do it?
Don't happen only to Julie. Happens with every single electronic equipment we have. It's part of a process of every time an entity is connected to this universe, automatically a drainage of energy will occur. This is because it happens so many times when you're doing a paranormal research and you check the equipments. That was the reason when I use the K2, we're going to find the variations in the electromagnetic spectrum. It's because of this quantity of energy being constantly, shifting. It's part of a process. It's not just they needed to survive, but it's part of nature. Something they cannot avoid that. Sometimes the suppressing is a little more fluent than other times. The flowing is enlarged, and sometimes the flowing is just inconspicuous. Everything depends which kind of entity you're talking about, the conditions, or in the case of Julie, if she's connected to them, a portal is open. That portal that they want, and if they see an available point, why in the entire house they want the battery of her car? Because it's her car. It's a possession connected to her. Her bioenergy is imprinted on that. That was the reason when she gave the car to the sun, a shifting of energy also occurred. And I bet you the problem was not happening in the same frequency or the same way.
And never again.
This is because it was connected to you specifically.
Julie, tell us how it disappeared, this kind of effects. Was it like that suddenly it stopped? or did you do something, or it was only getting weaker, weaker, and weaker, and you say after it, I had a normal life?
I believe that there were a lot of things going on in my life then, and I do believe I had a lot of higher entities and angels for protection because I had gone through, a really hard time, and I know they were there to support me. And the situation changed and shifted, and then it stopped. All this. It never stopped, but for the particular car, it stopped. But and I did have an encounter though with an ET a few years prior to that in that home. So I don't know if that had something to do with it either, but there's so many interesting things to talk about.
And we will. But now let me get back to Michael, because Michael didn't tell us how it went on with the situation, that he had a special feeling about a very famous person. Michael, here I point to Saint Germain. Can you tell us a little bit about this situation you experienced?
Yes. It was the last night that we were going to be in St. Gallen, Switzerland, and we went to a 5-star restaurant to have dinner. As we were walking in the restaurant, I noticed right next to the table that we were going to be sitting at, there was this gentleman in kind of an old English looking suit. He wasn't in his 90s like Sam thought. He was probably around 83, 84 years old. And he was eating some sort of dish. I don't know what it was, but he was drinking wine and also had a glass of beer to his right. Now, first off, it's kind of hard to believe that an entity such as Saint Germain would be drinking alcohol. And I will get to that part of it in a moment. There was eye contact. Now, if you look at the human race, it's very rare that I have noticed that human beings will look at each other directly in the eye. My grandmother used to say it's because humans lie to one another all the time, so they don't look at each other. But he looked right at me, and I looked right at him, and I could see the eyes. The eyes is what told me what was going on. And so I recognized that, and I said to Sam before we sat down, I said, Saint Germain is sitting next to us over here. And I noticed that Sam kept looking over at the guy, and he always was looking straight ahead. And since I knew it was him, I told the waitress that I wanted to pay for his meal. Luckily, he declined because he had drank 2 bottles of this wine that were $800 a piece.
No way.
Yeah. And luckily he didn't accept that. But I could feel the vibration coming from him. Jefferson mentioned an electrical magnetic field. Well, that's around us all the time. It helps us with our life force energy. And when it comes to spirit, the easiest thing for them to manipulate is the electricity or the electrical magnetic field. And if you put all that together in a certain rate of speed, you end up with a quantum field, which is another discussion. But anyhow, the Saint Germain illuminated the violet flame aura of sorts, if you will, that really told me and one other individual that I was sitting with that wasn't Sam, could tell that there was something happening. And then the gentleman got up, he looked at us, and he said, "Keep up the laughter. It is beautiful to see the young." You know, I'm 58, and he's calling me young. Laughing and talking and interacting. He was very happy about that. And then he said, "Thank you," and then he turned around and walked away. And just before he went around the corner where we couldn't see him anymore, he disappeared right in front of our eyes. Well,
this is interesting.
So every 7 years, the Masters of Shambhala, who has kept their physical body when they ascended, like Jesus did, Paramahansa Yogananda did, obviously Saint Germain did, kept their bodies, are able to come back into the physical from Shambhala every 7 years for 1 year. And for whatever purpose, I would not want to determine that I understand or know their purpose. I can only say it's more like a scientific investigation on how we're evolving. Because right in the middle of our brain, and science and medicine has the technology to see this, there is an empty space, which leaves room for evolution. We're going to evolve into something else, and I believe that excuse me, I'm getting excited, so hold on a second. I believe that evolving part is where we actually shed our physical appearance, which I believe is an illusion, into a light body where we can travel through light. And I don't mean the light when you turn on a switch. Travel through light and recognizing that space and time doesn't exist the way we seem to understand it, and that we are in a constant field of energy where we are already experiencing the future and the past and the present, all simultaneously at the same moment in time. And Saint Germain calls that the Mandala effect. And it has something to do with quantum physics, where you take a smaller sphere of some kind of metal, put it in a bigger sphere, and have it spin as fast as you can, and it opens up a time gate, like a stargate, like Jefferson was talking about, that the U.S. Air Force is doing. And if you think about it, that's kind of what our Earth core does. So we must be in and out, given the proof and evidence that time exists simultaneous. That there is no past, present, and future, that everything is now.
Can we understand it like a specific vibration area? I mean, we are here because we vibrate. We can feel what we can see what we see because it is vibrating in the same, let us call it matrix. When it is out of the same possible vibration, what we can see, feel, and touch, would it be maybe a different dimension, or maybe the past or the future?
Well, most definitely. And if we were to go into depth here with, for instance, Sanat Kumara, he would say that there is no separation between the past, present, and future. There is no spirit world. There is no third dimension. There is no physical dimension. That it is a space of light that exists simultaneously in the same space of light. infinitely. And
So this means basically what he's trying to say, what we experience is something like frozen light.
I'm waiting to hear from him.
May
Yes, go ahead.
I would say first, Marcus, the light of Michael is talking about, they are not photons. He's talking about a different kind of light, a kind of quantum light, a cosmic energetic light, which go beyond between the electromagnetic frequency we understand by photons. It's not talk about that light, it's talk about other light.
Okay.
The interesting thing concerning Saint Germain, I have access to a huge file about him. And the reason why he was there degusting physical food and drinking physical liquor is because he's being noted for centuries of accumulated through age very different one of these trans-dimensional beings.
That's right.
Centuries for Astro. For him, it's just a couple years. And one thing about even if he seems and appears human, is everything but that. You know, he can interact with humans, he can make conversations, he can talk, he can actually be in the human environment. But we're talking here about being extremely more evolutionary than we are. We're talking here about a being capable to actually change his matter. The age of his suffering is not because he's suffering like us, degradation of cells. It's because he decided for the appearance he's supposed to have. And he feels like connected to an older age because he feels more acquainted to the work he's been doing. Not only his, but a lot of other masters who walk on this earth among humans. Because the human experience is something like we are facing, especially this year more than any other, a transformation like we never imagined before. We are changing without even realize. We have what they call the paradigm shift. So large, so big, which go to cosmic proportions. For example, a few years ago, you could talk about paranormal, just a few people gonna have the courage to admit, the brave enough to admit they like the subject, they like this. Otherwise, they're going to keep it privately. But not now. Now is not only admired, but is even embraced. Same thing for the research of alien life form. If you talk about alien life form, they're going to laugh at you. Right now, even the governments like United States are openly, not only admitting the existence, but showing their interaction with these beings. So it's a lot of things which are changing about us, about our existence. Encounters like Michael have doesn't happen with anybody. Happens with beacons of light, what they call it. To people which are connected to our reality and with this other side, with this far beyond this realm of energy and intelligence and light. Of course, in order to have light, you're going to have some darkness. So you just need to know how to separate one from another. But I think the work Julie is doing, the work Michael is doing, are an incredible line of work because they're vessels, they're bridges. And that's what we need more than anything else. Bridges of understanding, bridges to see the far beyond, which our regular eyes can't see, can interpret it. In my case, I'm a psychometrist. My ability is to decode information. I sometimes do not know a subject, but the subject just comes to me. And when it comes to me, not come with just the information, it becomes the essence, part of my understanding. So when I talk about the subject, going to be like I've been dominating that for years and years and years, not like I just learned that very moment. So, and sometimes it's very useful, especially in the case of I'm making research and I want to know about the past of something. So being able to actually touch something and just let that information flow through you. But it's not just that. That's the first part. Then, when you have the information, you have to make what? A cross-reference. A cross-referencing is just to make sure you understood the right information, make no mistakes. And second, to validate the information you just acquired. So it's much important. And then finally, you do the final report, which is the result of the acquired information. That's what I do in psychology. It's one of my areas. But when I like meeting people like Michael and Julie, for me, I think it's a privilege because you guys are bridges, you guys are vessels, you are connection, you are living doors between universes. And that's one thing we don't take lightly. It's a very important thing to do. Sometimes even a little dangerous because it's risks everywhere. Both Julie and Michael know what I'm talking about. Exactly. So I only can commend all your bravery and your efforts enlightening us with all this information, which is so important. And this way you can to understand what seems so obscure for us now, but thanks to you, it's become more clear, more understanding.
Jefferson, thank you a lot for your explanation. Let me go back to Julie. Julie, you mentioned before that you have experienced extraterrestrial life in your life. And then you said, no, I will talk about it later on. Now the time has come. What did you experience?
Well, it was early evening, and it was March 2014, and I'll never forget it because, and not only I wasn't by myself, one of my sons that was about 12 years old was in the car with me, and we had just moved to this subdivision way away from the city where there were a lot of farms. And so I was driving my car just about to exit the subdivision, and I saw like a classical spaceship, saucer shape, and it was very low. And so as soon as I saw it, I turned my lights out and I hit the brakes because I was afraid for them to see me, but whatever. And the beams were shining down in a circular motion. So, I mean, there was a lot of them. And they were over a farm. And so I stopped and I just stared for a few minutes. And I feel like they saw us. So it went very, very quickly, sideways and then up and away. So nobody believed us, of course. Everybody laughed and said, oh, you must have been drinking. But about 10 years later, my son was dating a girl, and he was at their home, and the girl's mother was telling the story. She saw it from the opposite side, but everything we saw, she saw as well. So that was really good validation. And I will say that when I'm doing transfiguration work or work in the seance room, there's so many pictures of aliens coming in. Some of the ones with the gray faces with the big head, with the almond eyes. We've had beautiful blue, like beautiful features, female features with, you could tell it's blue skin, reptilian, or almost like lizard looking, if I might say. And also something that you might have seen in the Aztec days. So kind of like a reptile, but a different kind of face. So we have
I think Jefferson would be happy to mention something about the blue-skinned extraterrestrials, because he has experience with it. But before I let Jefferson speak about it, I would like to ask Julie and Michael, do you think that human beings are the only ones who are having souls, or are there beings without souls? For example, beings not from this world. Do we have maybe all souls, or only a part of the existing beings in the universe, if it is physical or not physical? What is your opinion, Julie?
I personally believe that we're consciousness, everything is consciousness, and that we can come back as a multidimensional being in another space or realm. I feel like it's choice. I don't feel like their energy, and they might come from somewhere different, but I feel like we're all part of this mass consciousness. So personally, I believe that I came from aliens. Like, now, I feel very connected to space. I always have been. I played with alien beings when I was a kid, who I thought were my friends, in physical playmates. So I feel very strongly that I may choose to be again, and that we all can inter-exchange. So I feel like our souls can express themselves any way they want.
Let me go now to Michael. Michael, the same question for you. Do you think that all beings who are existing having souls or the spark of God, or they get the life energy from different sources?
Well, first off, one would have to really do some research and investigation on what exactly a soul is. What I believe and what I have learned working with the masters is souls created by God is an aspect of a singular creation, meaning humans are souls. They're not humans. That's just an earth name. What humans are souls, okay? And the angels, or angelic, is what they are. They're angelic. That would be the similarity to what a soul is. It's titled a soul for humans. The angels, when they were created, they were created as angelic. When humans were created, we were created as a soul. So I believe that all life is connected to different elements of energy, different creations. I believe that there is a God of divine consciousness, but I believe that there are different elements of divine consciousness, not just a singular one. Like
Can you go deeper into it?
I would say that even God had parents, or some element of a creation that's beyond our comprehension, as God is to us beyond our comprehension. We limit it to something that we would understand, so we think of God as being some guy up there sitting on a throne with a long gray beard, or an alien of some sorts. So I believe, for instance, let's say some of these beings, like for instance Ashtar from the Ashtar command, I believe his creation is different than ours. So I would not necessarily say that he's a soul, but he's something else. But it's just as great and grandeur as, or even maybe even beyond the concept of a soul. And I happen to be told that there is a soul which is on the outside of the God vibration, and then there's a sub-soul which exists within the vibration of God, and they're connected, and then from there goes into the vibrational body through the 7 bodies until you get to the physical body, which is connected to a silver cord, which gives physical life. And all of that in reverse, knowing there is no forward, reverse, sideways, which ways, it's infinite, goes into the soul itself as kind of a hard drive of sorts, taking on education and information as it evolves. And every life entity separate from the souls, I feel, has a similar scenario. Maybe not all created at the same moment, but what is time anyway? So I very strongly believe in more of a simple answer here, that what an angel is angelic. What a human is a soul. And I remember being in Basel just recently, or not Basel, St. Gallen, and I had said to somebody that he doesn't have a soul, and he freaked out because he thought the God took his soul away. What I was meaning was, I believed he was an angel incarnate in the physical to learn what it's like to experience duality.
Does it exist that an angel can incarnate? Some people, they say yes, other people say no.
Yes, I believe they do, for more reasons than I'm willing to say. But there's truth in pretty much every story. You know, fallen angels. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are kicked out of heaven and they went into a pit and became demons and stuff. I don't believe that one for a moment. But I do believe the angels, by choice or just because, come here. And from what I was told is, when an angel first arrives on Earth, they have no idea who and what they are. They have amnesia. And then when they go through the death experience, then they reincarnate and attach to what I have dubbed a borrowed soul, so they can exist in a what we believe to be a physical body. And their intention here is to learn the concepts of duality, good and bad, because in the angelic realm there's neither. It just flows in a balanced mode energy. And so they come here to understand what that duality or separation is. And then when that part of their intent is resolved, they return to the angelic realm where they also continue to evolve. And
Is it not basically like they take the same way like human beings do? They incarnate, they go back where we belong to in the not physical world. We see we could get better or we reached our goal, but we see there's something what is missing. We reincarnate again in a different body in a different time maybe, and start to learn again. Is the learn process that we go through as well reflected, in your opinion, in angels, that they do the same?
Yes, I do believe that that is the case, because I believe that knowledge is infinite. There isn't there, you never run out of the opportunity to learn and to retain knowledge. It's infinite. And I won't say it's exactly the same, because there is no two people exactly the same. So the experiences and the outcome of those experiences will be different, which goes to the issue of one's truth. You know, your truth and my truth is going to be different. There may be similarities. And then there's that other question, well, which one of our truths is the truth? And it's both.
Mm-hmm.
You see, it's the perception of the individual. And so when you come back into a different experience, you're still connected to the soul, but you come through with a different spirit. Some believe that God created the spirit. I was taught that God created the soul, but the soul is what created the spirit. And it is a different spirit every time one incarnates, which is why we have hauntings, because the original spirit from the time before still has a energy signature here on this timeline. You see?
Do you believe that human beings reincarnate not only on this world, they go through a reincarnation process on different planets, that there are maybe blue, gray, tall ones, white ones, Nordic ones? Do you think that it is the evolution process of all the human beings that we have to reincarnate on different planets?
Well, yes. Okay, so simply I would say human beings or souls are not indigenous to Earth. And they're now finding information on Mars that would indicate that we came from there, but not necessarily our origin, but we once inhabited Mars. And then we had to evolve and relocate for whatever reason to Earth. And that was when Sanat Kumara noticed that the souls of Earth had a God spark and gave up his own ascension to come here so we can connect and recognize to our own greatness instead of to our own demise, which we seem to keep repeating over and over again. So hopefully Earth, which I don't think will end up being, but I'm hoping that the Earth will be the point where we realize we do not have to destroy things. And but I believe there are other souls on other worlds, such as a planet by the name of Clarion, Planet X, that you can't see with the naked eye because it stays behind the rotation of the sun. But they have found it because of Voyager 1. And they think that...
Do you think this planet is going to be in our universe, and because it is coming to our universe, we have these problems here on Earth? We have more heat. the ice is melting on North Pole, South Pole, and do you think Planet X is this planet what is provoking all what's here going on our planet? Because it is said Planet X has to do with the Sumerians as well. That sun is circling in orbit around it, and a moon. It must be, Planet X must be very big. And there was a man 40 years ago, he said, this Planet X is coming to our solar system, and on the world it will happen things we never believed will happen. He spoke about that it's getting hotter, that we have a lot of eruptions, and do you think it is true? It is this planet what Sumerians were speaking about, or the world where Sumerians came from?
No.
Good short answer to a question.
Human beings have a tendency to always want to point fingers and blame something else for the problems. In reality, and I think Jefferson might agree to what I'm about to say, what we're going through on Earth right now is a natural process of Earth's growth. It's just like you. You start out looking like this little baby, and as time passes, you change, and you go through different changes. And women, and when they get to a certain age, they go through menopause, which I like calling menopause. And men do too, which we call our what do they call that, the midlife crisis. And so we continue to evolve, and we have the changes. Well, I'm not going to say that humans being on Earth isn't causing the problem, but I don't think and believe that we are the problem. I think that we may be adding a little bit here and there to it, but the Earth is a living, breathing entity, meaning if we become too much of a problem, it would probably get rid of us somehow. And as the polar ice caps are melting, you can call it global warming, global freezing, whatever you want to call it, there will be bacteria that will come back to life that hasn't been around for over 10,000 years, which I believe our last ice age was 10,000 years ago. And so it's a natural process. Everything goes through a natural process as true time progresses. Okay? At some point, according to Sana Kamara, in 500 years, we will begin to evolve and remove ourselves from this crude matter and open up to our light bodies. Relative to Julie and her alien experience, I had a similar experience, but it wasn't a spacecraft. It was like a light beam coming down, and then it opened up like a doorway of sorts. It was very blinding in a way, with colors I can't describe because I don't think they exist here on this planet or this dimension. And this light being come walking out, walks up to me within maybe 2 feet from me, very, very vast, bright. You can even see the pink energy right here where the heart would be, with this color energy around it that was different, almost like an aurora borealis looking thing, and didn't say words, but this knowing of energy and knowledge came into my body, which I can only describe as it saying, you too will evolve into this vibration. And then it just disappeared.
Interesting. Here we have a nice point to connect to Jefferson, because he had as well experiences with aliens, and They're blue, right, Jefferson?
First, before anything else, I just want to say one thing to you guys. All extraterrestrial are aliens, but not all aliens are extraterrestrial.
That's so true. That is so true.
We have extraterrestrials, metaterrestrials, ultraterrestrials, intraterrestrials, neoterrestrials, and transdimensionals. If we're gonna go to do alien research properly, not just throw everything in the. For example, what Michael is describing was an encounter with a metaterrestrial entity, which are beings made of pure energy. They are conscient intelligences who travel beyond worlds. They do not need technology because they are not physical. So they don't even have planet origin. They allegedly were born in quasars. So these kind of entities travel between planets, helping in the evolution of the dominant species, primitive dominant species. Other thing, Marcus, you were talking about the Sumerians. The Sumerians are connected to the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki are connected to the Nibiru planet.
Yes, I didn't remember the name Anunnaki, and so I linked it quite wrong. You are absolutely right.
And the Anunnaki are not extraterrestrials. They are transdimensional beings. Nibiru is a planet who exists in other universe, who during occasions are capable to enter our universe to a vast vortex, who allowed the planet to exist in our universe for a period. Last period was eons. So has to do with the big planetary war, which culminate in the destruction of 2 planets, in the devastation of the ecosystem of the 4th planet, which is Marada, which today is known as Mars. Used to have oceans, used to have forests. Everything was destroyed with the destruction of Phaeton, which was a planet in the 5th orbit. How do we know if this planet truly existed? It's not just a figure of our imagination, because he left proof behind. The biggest proof is a little planetoid called Ceres, C-E-R-E-S. Planet Ceres exists between Mars and the Trojan asteroid belt, which was the resulting part of Phaeton. This Trojan asteroid belt separates the inner solar system to the outer solar system. Then comes the Jovian system with more than 90 moons. Even the biggest moons, or the biggest moon of our solar system, which is Ganymedes. Then comes Saturn with 60-something moons. The 7th biggest moon, which is Titan. That's Neptune, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And then used to be a 10th planet, which had the name Hercobulus. Hercobulus exploded. What is the proof of Hercobulus really existed? The proof is the Kuiper asteroid belt. The Kuiper asteroid belt are the reminiscence of the 10th planet. Other things we're supposed to know about our solar system. We are on a binary system. Means we have 2 stars, not just one. You're going to say, are you crazy? What's the second star? Just the sun here. That's true. But if you go in Google or any other search engine and look for a star which lays 1 light year exactly, it's a brown dwarf called Nemesis. Nemesis is the second sun on our solar system. We are a binary system with two stars, not just one. How do we can even calculate the existence of Nemesis? Because we have the exoplanets. In one of these exoplanets, make an orbit around that. So that's how we know about these things. Talking about the souls you're talking before is a reason why any life form, intelligent life form, doesn't matter how much resources they have, to come here from another solar system requires a lot of resources to be used. It's a very dangerous travel to travel for there to here. So they come here because it's not for tourism, it's not for just research, it's because wherever they have it here between us are so important, it is worth the effort. So you ask about souls. Every single thing has the equivalent of a soul, but only intelligent beings, only beings with conscience and intelligence have what they call a more, let's say, advanced soul. And what about humans? Well, that's one of these reasons that beings come here. They don't come here for our genetics. They already know everything they need to know about us for inside and outside. They know about Earth and about the distinctiveness of Earth for centuries, for millennia already. So what they come here, because the biggest secret for these beings is understand the principle of the human soul. Our soul is a cosmic soul, a divine soul, but the soul of an infant. We do not have the understanding of the experience to actually validate us as cosmic beings. We are like a fetus waiting to be born. So they are all trying to understand us before we achieve our potential. Because once we achieve our potential, we're going to be like the metaterrestrials. We're going to have no need for a physical form. We're going to have no need for technology. We have no need for a body or even a planet. So based on all these things, how I'm telling these things to you, how I got this knowledge from. First, my former bosses, I would say, when they used to work to Department of Defense, they have two agencies. One of these agencies was DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agencies in Arlington, Virginia. And the other one was NSA, National Security Agency, which is in Fort Meade, Maryland. I used to have GS-8 clearance. A GS-8 is a clearance which is not given to foreigners, only given to people born in the United States. I wasn't. I was born in Brazil. It was given to me in the exceptional case due my personal interaction with alien life forms and my knowledge about alien technology. So that was the reason I have this. But when I was there, I was also able to expand knowledge in other areas. So that is for I've understood the project Stargate, which was a project about remote viewing. Basically, the entire project was about looking for people or looking for sites, or looking for information outside the body. So that's what the project Stargate was about. And Ingo Swann was the person which was the number one psychic in charge of that project on that time. So that one of the areas I went to. Then I entered the project Mnemosyne. which was a project to research about transdimensional universes. So we understand about our universe, about the multiverse, and about one thing called the omniverse. The omniverse is what everything else, even that entities of Michael was mentioned before, they exist in that reality, outside time and space, outside anything we can conceive or even try to understand. Our understanding of the omniverse is less than meager. We understand not even a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of is yet to be understood. The reason is, number one, in this place, laws of physics don't apply. Number two, everything we think we know, actually we don't. And everything we try to correlate to doesn't work there. So it's a brand new universe, which is outside the universe. Over there, you're gonna find three places, which for me was the most remarkable places. One of these places, they is not their name of the places, there's one name of they gave to them in file. So one file is called the Necroverse. The Necroverse is where the souls go there. When the soul go there, goes for recycling. How works the recycling? The recycling is every memory, every experience is removed from that soul and stored in a place of they call the Akashic records, which later on is a sum of all the knowledge, experience, and sensations that somebody have. Why the reason they need to remove that is because the soul is immortal, so we never die. That is not only but a transition to a new beginning. The beginning starts what they call the Vitaverse. The Vitaverse is where they're going to find you a new bio vessel, a new body, necessarily on Earth or another place, where you're going to continue your existence. And the reason they need to raise your memory is, imagine if you come back, say to Earth, and remember of your last life, you used to have a wife and children. So you are like 9 years old and you remember your wife and children. It's going to create a trauma bigger than anything anybody could resolve. So that was the reason the cosmic forces related to a new beginning. But that's why the indigo children came into being. It's because some children are capable to remember past lives on Mars or other places.
And here I have to come in.
Oh, okay.
Jefferson, let me mention here something to our audience. Dear audience, if you are now curious what has to say Jefferson de Souza more about the paranormal and about aliens and about secrets on these worlds or cover-ups, stay tuned. We have more to hear in interviews with Jefferson de Souza. Dear Michael, Julie, Jefferson, thank you so much. It was an extraordinary meeting between great and knowledgeable people. I was so thrilled about all what you said, Julie, Michael, and Jefferson. But we don't have time anymore. We are around, well, 1.5 hour, 1 hour, 40 minutes. So we are 40 minutes over the time. I hope I see you back to the next Paranormal Quartet and say thank you and goodbye until the next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
My pleasure to be here.
Nice seeing you all.
My
Talk to
pleasure
you
to
soon.
meet you, Jefferson.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Marcus. Bye, Michael.